Thank you, Becky, and thank you that there were excerpts of your introduction, which was a very good introduction for my speech. Today marks the 66th month since Daphne's brutal assassination. 66 months during which we have waited in vain for justice for her family, and for her stories. 66 months in which scandal after scandal after scandal has come to light, many of which have resulted from the corruption Daphne herself uncovered. We have now become used, desensitized even, to the pattern that has emerged in these 66 months. So many scandals day after day after day that it is almost impossible to keep up with each and every one. So how about a few brief reminders? How convenient it must have been for Robert Abela and his government that, thanks to the shocking revelations about former Parliamentary Secretary Rosiane Kutayar's lucrative relationship to Jorgen Fenech, the alleged mastermind behind Daphne's assassination, that the spotlight was shifted away from the 24th February Vitals Stewart Court judgment. A judgment that starkly spelled out how this deal was fraudulent before it was even signed. How hard they must be trying to make us forget the almost 400 million euros thrown down the drain, an enormous sum of money that could have and should have been spent for the benefit of all Maltese and Gozzitans. Lest we forget, no one has yet resigned over this corrupt deal, let alone been charged with corruption. Lest we forget, Christian Borge, alleged kidnapper, alleged tax evader, alleged money launderer, a bully who will not think twice before threatening the lawyer representing a group of his disgruntled clients. Yet this hasn't stopped government entities like Transport Malta from leasing cars from his businesses. Lest we forget, there was no reaction to the news that former MFSA CEO Joseph Kushkiri was found to have breached ethical guidelines when he accepted an all-expenses-paid trip to Las Vegas with Jorgen Fenech. Lest we forget, when grilled by the Public Accounts Committee, Al-Liberic Keach Kembri claimed that he wasn't that involved in the Electrogas project, even if, as he himself bragged, everything he touches turns to gold. Lest we forget, disgraced former Prime Minister Joseph Muscat was given a severance package of 120,000 euros, a car with a driver, a car for his wife, 2 telephone lines, a mobile phone and an internet connection, a computer, printer and scanner, the government gazette, as well as a personal assistant. Everything but the kitchen sink, clearly. Lest we forget, Labour Party propagandist and Joseph Muscat acolyte Manuel Kushkiri had no qualms in targeting my fellow civil society activists Robert Aquilina and Alessandra Di Crespo, setting them up as figures of hate among his partisan followers. And he's still at it, his most recent target being the head of the Nurses' Union. Lest we forget, the government has run roughshod over the bulk lorry, ignoring their concerns over plans to expand Pinto Wharf, which they say will take over their landing site and jeopardize their livelihood. Lest we forget, during the past month, the Maltese authorities yet again heartlessly chose to ignore migrants drowning off our shores. Lest we forget, the family of Jean-Paul Sophia, who lost his life in yet another construction accident. They are being callously ignored in their calls for a public inquiry to identify the failures of the state and the construction industry's role in his tragic and needless death. And of course, we can't forget that Jean-Paul's photo and candles left by his grieving mother and family were removed from the lawn outside Castile earlier this week. Are we back to these shenanigans again? Ma namlux mod li dar xogħol il-Minister of Breaching Human Rights Owen Bonnici. Or is he too busy? Or is Owen Bonnici too busy troubleshooting the fact that a Nazi sympathizer was allowed to spew his venom on the national TV station? Lest we forget, the inaction of the police and the Attorney General in dozens upon dozens of cases, which can only confirm what we have been saying for years, that Malta has become a mafia state. Imma they're damn fast when setting out to arrest author and blogger Mark Camilleri for revealing very uncomfortable truths. Imbasta fejn huma l-provi. And lest we forget, despite magisterial orders of arrests and prosecutions, no one has yet been brought to face justice in the Pilatus Bank scandal. Read Robert Aquilina's book, Hemm qegħdin il-provi. I could go on, and they want us to forget. But we will never forget these facts. As you heard, a randomly chosen and a mere handful of the hundreds of other stories of corruption, abuse of power, flagrant disregard for the rule of law, and the environment of impunity that this government has cultivated for the benefit of its cronies. And finally, lest we forget, about all of this, Daphne was right. We miss you, Daphne. We miss your writing, your humor, and your inspiring, intelligent, and incisive reporting. I promise you this: we will continue to fight the fight until the full truth of all your stories is laid bare. And you and your family get the justice you so wholeheartedly deserve. Only then can we truly honor your memory and pave the way for a better future for Malta. Thank you.